So everyone, we're gonna be talking about the rule of two and what basically I've discussed with Archmage, right? Been a bit. So this is basically the rule of what is allowed to be an attunement and what isn't. That's right. We're gonna be going over what can in the future be an attunement. Crazy, right? Don't know if this is exactly earth-shattering news, but a lot of people were really confused. Like, there's always like debates. That might be an oath. That might be an attunement. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be going over what does Archmage consider to be the rules, I was told. So, number one and two, you can technically say three. It can't be water, and it can't be light. Okay, there you go. So, it can't be water, and it can't be light. Well, why, Agamatsu? What the? Huh? The light, the water. Let me explain, okay? So, I know I always said that lore is not a reason for shits to, you know what I mean, right? For shits to be changed, right? I'll explain the rest of this later, but basically, Ark said that water, the issue with water is that it's not that water bending necessarily doesn't exist per se, but the idea is that the communities in Deepwoken, right? They exist to try and fight back against the water that's trying to make them not exist. You see what I'm saying, right? The waves, the drowning are an issue. So think about it like this, right? He said that if there are a bunch of players who have water, right? It breaks the lore, because if there's a giant tide coming to swallow the island, why don't you just get thousands of waterbenders to push the bitch back? That's basically what he said. And then there were some other reasons, but that's basically the gist of it. That, like, you see what I'm saying, right? Like, it just don't make sense. Like, why are these motherfuckers afraid of the drowning, water-based, right? Why are they afraid of the tides? What is the tides? If there are waterbenders, the motherfuckers should just be able to diff them, right? To no diff them, right? There's other lore things too, like, oh, if you use water, you're not human. You're basically a monster, blah, blah, blah. Speaking of water, make sure you drink some. This is literally using hard cold water. Rune, you know there's ice that isn't water-based? Like, have you ever, like, dry ice type shit? Like, dry ice don't got no water in it. I'm right about that, right? Let me double check my facts. What is dry ice made of? Yeah, there's ice that isn't water. And I think that's what it's based off of. I think it's based off, like, freezing the air, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool. So that's rule number one, and that's why water can't be a thing. Number two, or number one of two, part one and two. Anyway, light magic. Now, people are like, damn, why the fuck can't light magic be a thing? This is also another lore thing, which is like, But basically, right, essentially, when it comes to the light attunement, light keepers don't have, like, they don't have the song within them. They're basically like a heavenly restricted type nigga. They're like a Toji, if I'm getting my facts here. They're like a Toji, right? Now imagine, you see what I'm saying, right? In Jujutsu Kaisen, can you become Toji? You know what I mean? You have to be born with it type shit. And that's what light keeping is. There are very special people, very few, but special people who are born with light keeping. And that's why they're basically in the universe. They're like some big ass fucking commodity, you know, like big resource. Nations want them because they can, I think they can help against the drowning type shit. Now, that's when I asked, I said, okay, well, what about Dawnwalker though? And I think he said I think Ark was saying that Dawnwalker derives from light keeping technique, some shit like that, right? Some shit like that, right? And it made me wonder if Dawnwalker didn't exist, could Dawnwalker have been the attunement? I think so, but that's why we're going to get into the second rule. And this is rule number two, okay? Rule number two, it can't already exist. No oath. The no oath rule, I'm going to call it, right? If it exists in the game in some form that isn't an attunement, it likely will not be an attunement. So Illusion, Dawnwalker, those two likely can't. I mean, they could do Illusion, right? But Archmage said, well, it's an oath. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why I'm pushing for blood so hard to become a damn attunement. Because if it becomes an oath, it will never be an attunement. Never. There's no going back. Maybe they could go back, but like think about it. If there's already builds with blood on them, well, what happens to those? They're just gonna remove the blood oath. So this happened with Iron Sing. It has to happen before it drops. Iron Sing was originally an oath, but since they switched it to an attunement, right? It was able to stay that way. If blood drops as an oath, it's Jover, right? It's never being an attunement again. Get another swig. Hold up, I need one myself. Anyway, so yeah, those are the two rules. That's it. Those are the only two rules that I discussed with Archmage, at least, in terms of what can and cannot be an attunement. So what does that mean? That means anything else is basically free game. It's free game. It's good to go. So anything that isn't water, light, or an oath, or something that exists in the game already, works. It can work. Mark said that they can basically fit it around. They can just, they the ones who make the damn lore. He just said, yo, we could just work around the shits. We can work around the shits. So, for example, right? So blood being an attunement or oath, it's entirely dependent on if a developer or if the devs can think of enough creative ideas that make it different from the other attunements and gameplay wise can be enough for an attunement. And they also need a developer who can make like 15 to 20 different mantras for it, which I think is possible. Fino said he could. We asked Fino yesterday. Fino said he could, but that's just an example, right? So Rotweave, you know what I'm saying? I saw some people say that in chat. Rotweave or Earth, Gravity. According to these rules, those should be free game. It should be good to go. But the question is, can it be fully fleshed out as an attunement? Can it be fully fleshed out gameplay wise to not feel like ice, to not feel like lightning? Does that make sense? So in terms of what can be an attunement, it's got to abide by these rules. And I guess technically you could say the third one, right? We'll put a third one here. Number 3, gameplay, right? What ultimately will lead to if it can exist is, can they flesh the bitch out? Can they do the shits out? You see what I'm saying, right? And so that's why I'm particularly interested in the future of stuff, and because it's kind of open to a lot of stuff. But what will likely happen is, unfortunately, any new concept will likely be turned into an oath, bell, or a dual attunement path. And that's what I think. It's like, damn. That's why I think a new attunement dropping besides Lifeweave and maybe Blood is kind of rough. Because like Gravity, I was thinking about Gravity as an attunement, but we already have Gravity Bell. They could play around that. Maybe they could say it's like an ultra application of Gravity type shit, right? Maybe they could play around with it. But yeah, those are basically the rules. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to go click on these other videos, man. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.